Yes, but also look at how you recruit these polling agents, how you recruit these polling assistants. Now that's eternal. And also look at the future. Things are changing every day. But now the question is here. We are dealing with a dishonest government regime. It's like having a dishonest girlfriend. Tells you this, is doing this. You get it? We have the head of state, who is the commander in chief in elections. You have the head of security in a district, the RDC, who is campaigning for his boss and is commanding security. What do you expect? Food for thought. Now, the other things we are talked about, but I want to challenge my colleague from my other person who is from the other side, where they are in political parties. I am a member of the Democratic Party. We were so much in front for the term of multipartyism in this country. This government has curtailed freedom of political parties. And political parties are the center of democracy and growth. That's why I'm saying this honest girlfriend, who is the regime now. Let me just finish. So, political parties are at the center of democratic growth. Now, you have political parties that cannot exercise their rights, who are supposed to recruit, train, and grow civic culture. My friend Ismail, are we doing civic education or talking about civic education in a community? That's food for thought. Can we have?
It pains me much. During the time of the election, you find most of the youth are in prison. Why? The government always said that the youth are inciting violence. But to my understanding, the government incites violence towards the youth. Why? Because whenever they find the youth, whether you are gathered during the time of election, when they need the gathering of the youth, for them they think wrongdoers, they can't think anything good apart from maybe fighting and doing other things. So to me it pains me much. But again I would request at least the different bodies should come out and teach the youth their roles and responsibilities in election. What is the role of a youth in election? But you find they are quiet, but at the time at the end, that's when they came out, and at least we need to talk to the youth. Again, the mode of communication towards we the youth. We the youth we understand ourselves, but you find someone is putting on suits, what, but you are going to talk to the youth, to the ghetto youth. They will not automatically understand you. What am I calling to add? At least I request.
Ms. Favor, I want to first disagree with my senior Honorable James. When you see people fighting, they're not fighting because there is a constitutional issue. They are fighting because there is either leadership that has created desperation or desperation to the extent that citizens do not see hope. And the only hope they see is that they must finish what their anger right now. That's why we must now question institutions, especially the judiciary. You can see people cutting off people's heads. It's not constitutional, it is a leadership crisis. And I think as leaders, we who are in leadership, we must be questioning that. My two proposals. The first one, and I want to begin with a disclaimer, I work with younger people. I am not very certain that a minority people can dominate majority. If we are 87% Ugandans who are young, and you still need to be represented under affirmative, I train leaders. Most of them, even in this room, there was no plan to create that this age come, this age come. But the majority of you are young people. So in other words, the first proposition is to scrap off affirmative action from our constitutional and legal regime. And I say this without any fear. I work with the young people. The young people have been empowered enough to take charge. They have refused to take charge. Some people are seeking Bisanja on youth representation. These were nursery babies to prepare you for serious leadership, which you have refused to take charge. Therefore, we, the aged, must dominate you, the majority. Finally, and by that, I have no regret over that. Finally, and I think this goes to my brother Ismail. There's no problem me dying and my son becomes my political success. We should be questioning the credentials of young people replacing these elders. For example, in the 90th Parliament, we had the youngest legislator. She still replaced what? Her father. Yes. She traveled the whole of this continent and the whole world. She did not even raise on the floor of Parliament once in her research. In other words, we should not be questioning the manner in which I become a leader. We must be questioning the inability or the incompetence of citizens to identify leaders from the inheritance perspective. That's why even the drunk, the mad, the cynically incompetent are the ones who are going to succeed us. And you know great men normally produce the weakest children. I thank you.
We work across the region. Why don't we extend those services nearer? So that we can get our accreditations here instead of always traveling to Kampala. Now check back for the by-election. We are here and we are going to monitor and observe the by-election. So still we need to go to Kampala and get the accreditation. As other services are being decentralized, even us as CSOs, we need your government to ease our work. Then the other thing is, when it came to the 2021 elections, some of our NGOs accounts were closed. Why is it that when it comes to elections, we are always disturbed? So you think that at the time of elections, NGOs should move away from Uganda, and where should we go? We are part of Uganda and we are Ugandans, we are citizens. And this is where still we get our salaries. You find during the time of elections, the accounts are closed and you're going to be late to be paid. We are also people, we need to live. Why don't you always consider us and leave us to work within also our mandate? Then the other thing I'm going to talk about, they already talked it about, but I'm going to give a scenario. For example, I come from Kibali, and when they finished the parliamentary elections, the MPs of my district, they started now campaigning for the LC5, who should become the LC5 chairperson of that district. The MPs had their person whom they were supporting, and as the citizens, we also had our person whom we were supporting. So it was a battle between the MPs and us, the citizens. And at the end of that day, the citizens won. Our person whom we wanted took over. But when it comes now to leadership, the MP cannot sit at the same table with the LC5 chairperson. That is an issue, I think, in the voter education and the civic education.
The EC said that, actually I never knew that civic education is taken over by human rights.
Yes.
I think this is wrong. They need to take it with the Electoral Commission, because the whole process is for elections. Fine. I think that's my opinion. And then, on air, candidates or contenders, they are restricted. The expenditure on media is always on them, which
becomes a big problem, I think this should also be taken by Electoral Commission. Should always have time for contenders to save being so extravagant, to curtail being extravagant in politics and campaigns. So because of time,
there should be no transfers of these officers. Previously, we got information somewhere in the Elastic Sand that where by elections, where some places where by elections were being held, they could, during that time of campaign, somewhere even somebody was transferred in, it was a period of either 1 or 2 weeks to election. And they said this RDC was brought to brush off this man here. The RDC was there, the government did not have the confidence in him to brush the other opposition off. I would wish, at least during elections, and maybe some limit of at least 6 months to elections, at least these officers, critical officers in the election exercise should not be transferred. It may temper with the election process.
We should be immune against prosecution during and after the service, because that will create a lot of peace. Secondly, this one is going to the executive director and corruption. He gave us statistics on the 2021 elections, but I'm not sure whether this was informed by scientific interrogation, and if not, then we need to interrogate it further to establish the fact that, for example, 3.5% of those who were invalid, they still ticked in the eye because of lack of voter education. And then to the journalists, please, for heaven's sake, don't base your reporting on social media, because you could get different picture from what you actually on the ground.
The journalists or the media houses should do what the law tells them to do. How? More especially through strengthening their trade unions. You should make sure that you have strong trade unions that will really stand up and fight for your rights if you are to perform well. And the other thing is, Mr. Ismail was talking about voter and civic education. Actually, we have, in the civil society world, all of us have done that, most especially when elections are due or nearing. But I'm also asking the Electoral Commission, it is their work, but it is your work. Sometimes civil society comes in just to compliment. Please, can you help us and always arrange these such things on time, such that the voters are in position to do or to vote when they are aware of what they are doing.
Monitor, I was a presiding officer, and we had the first peaceful elections in Uganda. I arrested a CID officer, and I was using a local defense because he was trying to terrorize the elections. And we had him on the road. We released him later. Imagine we were so strong. I rode a ballot box on a bicycle, 15 kilometers, with my escort also on a bicycle. Anyway, what happened? 2001, 2006, 2011, I worked in the long-term observation mission. One was a retired marine officer from Norway, and one was a retired judge from East Timor. Now, one recommendation they made, I picked on the two, followed up with them for 1 month, raising the civic competence of citizens in Uganda, especially voters, to know what they are doing. This one will be bad as a country because our voters are still pressing for money, raising the aspect of commercialization. 2, the independence and the integrity of the electoral officials. The Electoral Commission has been implicated several times for allowing, favoring some candidates and not being strong enough, just like the media. So we also need to work on these areas. And finally, our voters is improved, and that can only be done through a regular civic education. The civic education will not be done partially. Let it be continuous, so that the Electoral Commission can come in with this voter education towards the election period. Thank you.
and prevented from hosting some candidates. I know they don't do it out of their will, there is always state force on them. But in so doing, the state doesn't know that they are provoking the citizens to become violent. The state doesn't know. When they stopped Nyakato from going to Spice FM, it is until we demonstrated that day. Personally, I was grabbed and dropped in Kinyara there in sugarcane plantation by military. But immediately, the impact was felt and as Nance was hosted during the day on that exact time for a radio talk show. Personally, I contested for MP Hoima East. I was only hosted on a radio station once on Spice FM during the debate. But I could go there with money to pay for airtime on radio. They denied me the chance. There are some media personnel who approached me and told me, Abuda, we are sorry, but the RD said we shouldn't host you. It was not a surprise when I saw my president and myself being dragged out of the radio station. I expected it as well. And I had communicated to him that we are not going to have this so successful. So, as I conclude, so we really need to look into those issues if we are to come up with better electoral reforms that are going to benefit our citizens and as our country at large. Thank you.
This is where we have multipartism. This is where we have active journalism. We have had incidents of fracas. The question now, what went wrong? Or what is going wrong? Therefore, and when you follow trends slowly, the people who are coming in active politics, we used to have Makerere University without strikes. We used to have UCU without strikes. Today in Uganda we are remaining with only one university, Bulu University, which has not gone on strike. And you are you. Should I say the products of these universities are the ones pelting stones on security officials? And we have had this. It's on paper, it's on record. We have seen people picking stones and pelting security forces openly and killing them. The graduates, the informed, the well-educated.
Western region, we don't have a representative in parliament. Ekintu ekindi nibahimba abalema abantu abalina obulema omu Uganda yonna nibabatwala jinja kukoma ba MPs. Ekintu kino kitumalaho obugabe kandi kitusaasya kandi tubonaabona. So my recommendations nti okukoma aba MPs babantu abalinaho obulema tubakome in our regions. Ekintu ekindi tukome ba MPs buli region tukoma MP waitu. Hatari nyowe omuntu owa Western region kugenda kukoma MP agenda to representing in the whole country owa Northern region na nyweni nkoma. So ekintu kinu kitusasya muno. Mau owa Electoral Commission okutukwija hansi mulingo tukoma mu abantu abalina obulema tibakyayetaba omukwesimbaho habwokuba oyina kwepakirira wenka abakyezi bawe bakalulu. Electoral College yawe genda kuhakalulu obyeteramu wenka sente kandi enyuma okwo Electoral Commission mwateekamu ga sente mu kukoma okwabantu abalinaho obulema timanyire esente ezo zikagyanka mu kiteeka ganka. Then nkugenda ha qualifications okutukuba nitukoma abantu abagenda ku representing in all
I want to thank the journalists who have represented us, specifically the two. But as far as I know, I have not listened to them on air. Like the lady, she looks to be an editor, and the gentleman, I have not heard him on air. But what you have presented to us here is very good. But you're having a difference with those ones whom we are listening as journalists. What they give out is different from what you're trying to give us. I'm requesting those journalists who are ever on air also to talk sense. You can also do civic education there. You can do political education. Sometimes I listen to some journalists, I say, hey, is this one a journalist? I just switch off my customer radio. Thank you, they do. Let me go to the forward as the organizers of this function. You said whatever all the recommendations we are making here, we are going to pass them through our MPs. But this is a public secret, that most of our MPs here, what we tell them as citizens, they go to their political parties. And when they go to parliament, that our party has said this. What assurance are you giving us that these recommendations we are giving are directly going to parliament? They are not going to political parties. That is in Uganda here. I wanted again to talk about the accreditation. My sister Monique talked of the accreditations being based on a regional level. I wanted again to come up with the district. So that if you are a journalist, you want to be accredited, let it go to the electoral commission, you are again accredited. Let's talk on the affirmative action. Women representative, people with disabilities, youth. For I'm requesting, however much my brother Peter talked about that they need to be sparked off. In Uganda here, we're not going to have those things sparked off. But I'm requesting those affirmative actions, they should have decided term limits. If we have seen women representatives who have been there for 30 years, they don't want, now we want also to be empowered for 30 years in parliament. Even if the other lady also to come and be empowered, at least for them, they should be given 3 terms. I'm talking of the affirmative actions. Because that thing, Peter, he cannot score out term limits, that things will stay there. But for affirmative action, if you have stayed there for 3 terms, let the other people also be empowered. I beg.